All right, Canadian Hindus under attack by Khalistani mobs. Scary muscle flexing by pro-Khalistan groups in Brampton's neighborhood. Canada, we're looking at a mob that was seen flaunting weapons outside the Gurudwara. And the biggest shocker, of course, is the Canadian police himself, a police officer himself taking part in this Khalistan protest. They've assaulted some of the Hindu devotees as well outside the temple. The cop has now been suspended. You see Harinder Soni, that's the man right on your screens there. He's a police officer with the Canada Police, but decides to take part in this protest while he was off duty. He was seen holding the Khalistani flags, and that group there intimidated some of the Hindu devotees right outside the temple. He's now been suspended by the Canadian administration. Not the first time, though, when this Canadian cop attended the Khalistani mob rally. Also in October, he was seen, Harinder Soni was seen attending another Khalistani rally in Toronto. People from the Hindu community have gathered right outside the Hindu Mahasabha temple in Brampton and raised Khalistani Murdabad slogans. Canada Police has arrested 3 people accused who were part of these protests. In fact, the Hindu groups were called by the police is illegal, saying that they were holding arms and their gathering there itself was illegal. As the cops tried to dismiss their protests, more Hindus gathered in defiance, holding Canada flags along with the Indian flag.
I'm here at the Sabamandir in Brampton, where the attack from the Khalistanis happened yesterday, where a massive demonstration just happened by the Hindu community. As you see, people are coming out, they're leaving, they're heading inside. There are thousands of people here. Right, as you see, there's great unity still on the stage. People are still hanging out. You see Israeli flags, you see Indian flags, you see Canadian flags, you see United people. I saw the Sikh Hindu Alliance was here. Jains were here. Iranians were here. This is one of the best displays of unity we could see. So as you can see, things are pretty rowdy here. The crowd is very passionate because their temples were attacked yesterday.
Hindu Canadians are hurt. They are hurting. The trauma of Hindu Canadian community has not been reflected wrong, and it needed an avenue for a very long period of time. In 2023, in Canada, we saw 13 Hindu temples were attacked. In 2024, that trend continues. Not only that, we saw the attack on the journalists. We have seen physical intimidation in the schools, in the universities, in the workspaces, and with the new geopolitical spat going on, things have gone out of hand. The Khalistani extremists are emboldened with a beyond belief, and this is just one incident which was captured by media because it was happening at a temple. But the optics of it is so horrible, and the message it gives to the community is so heart-shaking that this is established for long that in Canada, our sacred spaces are not safe. But now, Hindus are not safe either inside their sacred spaces. They are so emboldened that they can come inside, they can harass you, they can beat people black and blue. That was a point where community's belief into the Canadian system has shattered. And that is what we reflected here. We put a call for the protest, and we saw more than 5,000 people turn up here in Hindu Sabha temple. This is a temple which does one of the biggest Ram Leelas, and thousands of people show up.
घरों से उठा के ले जाएंगे, मैं भी सूट पहन के खड़ा हो सकता हूँ यहाँ पे, मुझे भी कोई जरूरत नहीं है, कोई जरूरत नहीं है मुझे। और यहाँ जितने लोग खड़े हैं, आधे से ज्यादा जितने भी 20-20 साल से रह रहे हैं ना, उनको मेरी शक्ल पता है, ठीक है ना? कल तुम्हारे मंदिर पे अटैक होगा, अगली बार तुम्हारे घरों में होगा, तुम $1 million के घर का क्या करोगे लेके?
We are deeply hurt as Hindu community what has happened here yesterday, and we have come here in support of Hindu community. Hindu community has contributed so much to Canada, and we are progressive. we add so much economical value. We follow law and order wherever we go, be it Canada, be it anywhere.
जो कल ये घटना हुई, खालिस्तान के जो लोग थे उन्होंने अटैक किया मंदिर के डिवोटीज पे, और यहाँ आके जो लोग मंदिर में आना चाहते थे डिसरप्ट किया जो मंदिर की रेगुलर फंक्शनिंग थी। तो ये बड़ी ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना है, और ये घटनाएं जो हैं कनाडा में वो लगातार बढ़ रही हैं, और हिंदू कम्युनिटी में बड़ी बेचैनी है और असुरक्षा की जो भावना है वो पाई जा रही है।
Yesterday, Peel Regional Police responded to 3 separate but believed to be related demonstrations in both Brampton and Mississauga. Investigators are actively investigating unlawful behavior and will continue to make arrests as a result of the unlawful acts committed at these demonstrations. We are aware that there are more planned protests for later today. Peel Regional Police is committed to respecting an individual's right to peacefully protest as per the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. However, any acts of violence, threats of violence, or vandalism will not be tolerated. We will be deploying additional personnel in order to maintain order and to ensure the safety of our community. Peel Regional Police will continue to support and work with our community partners and stakeholders to ensure a peaceful, safe space for the planned demonstrations. Follow us on X to receive updates regarding further information on these demonstrations and other news. We will continue to keep you up to date.
We've spoken to Canadian journalist Daniel Broadman, who warned that India-Canada relations could worsen in the final year of Justin Trudeau's term. His remarks come after attacks on Hindus in Canada. Let's hear it.
Daniel, first, I have to appreciate you've been constantly going on the ground and speaking to directly people, not just opinions and views. What did you see when you went to Brampton? Because this was the Hindu community that I don't think has congregated in a manner like this ever before in Canada. What is your assessment? First, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I got there a bit early to set up to sort of watch the whole thing develop, and it was really sort of an atmosphere, and many sort of Hindus were coming in, and there were big boxes of Indian flags and Canadian flags that people were handing out, and everyone was getting pretty patriotic. And then there were other communities of support. I mean, I'm sorry for butchering the name, but there was the Sikh Hindu Unity Coalition. I might have butchered the name. They were there. I met them. There were a couple Jewish organizations, Tough Sikh, One Global Voice, Iranians, former political prisoner from Iran, Salman Sima, made a speech there. So mostly, large, thousands of Hindus. I couldn't get a whole count because there was like thousands in, there was thousands in front, there was thousands behind. And if you ever seen the property, it's gigantic. So head counts were hard because everyone was kind of packed. And it kind of just started. People kind of, got in and like someone went Jai Shri Ram, people went Jai Shri Ram. So the atmosphere kind of started. The Jewish organization Tough Sikh, they had brought the executive director, Amir Epstein, and brought a sound system for the community to use. So then that got set up, and it was just a bit of an atmosphere. And then there was some policy directions. You had Rashad from Kona on, the organizers, and if I could boil it down, they want the government and the police to address the Khalistani issue by name. Khalistan, it's a problem. And the other thing is, I think this was a big awakening in the Hindu community, which you rightly point out. They've never really done anything like this before. When they got a couple thousand people out to protest what was happening in Bangladesh, that was pretty big for them. This was orders of magnitude bigger, but it seems like a switch has a bit gone off. The Khalistanis crossed a line. The police crossed the line. The government crossed the line. I think the community saw that sort of, oh my, like we're kind of alone here. There are no safety guards. No one's going to have our back. So what you saw tonight, I think, was the community sort of coming together in a pretty passionate way to say, okay, we got to stand for ourselves right now. We got to push back. We got to assert our rights. Like if we want our temples to be safe, we're going to have to get organized. And there's a big push from the community, I could say, inside outside the temple to say, okay, get organized. We're going to get more involved in politics. We're going to get more involved in things going on. We're going to pressure on the people who are opposing us. We're going to call out the Khalistanis. We're going to mobilize against the radicals in the Canadian government. And we're going to sort of uphold our rights as Canadians to be
the religion we want to be, most of them Hindu.
And yet, briefly and quickly, Daniel, that the government doesn't seem to be reaching out to them, doing anything. They can't even acknowledge who was indulging in the violence.
No, this is a failure of government. And the Canadian government is very slow, very scared, and very stupid on all levels, and in different proportions among the political parties. But those are the three values of Canadian politics in general.
Now, Rajdeep Sardesai has spoken with former Canadian minister over attacks on Hindus. He tore into the Justin Trudeau regime. Here's what he said.
But the fact is that these Khalistani extremists seem to be getting away time and again with it. There is a sense of growing impunity, Ujjwal Dosanjh. To what extent is the Canadian government and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in particular responsible for this? That over the years, he just hasn't sent a tough enough message to these extremist forces.
Well, you know, Canadian politicians, the political class generally have been suffering from political amnesia on this issue for a long time. Mr. Trudeau in particular, ever since he's taken over, the Khalistani movement in Canada has actually reached fairly high up in terms of the number of people it has attracted. Mr. Trudeau came into power with the Khalistanis around him. They were in his cabinet. And he's never kind of looked back. He doesn't realize that he's doing great damage to Canada. You know, what happened at the Brampton Hindu Temple and Surrey Hindu Temple also happened at the Vancouver Sikh Temple, so much so that they had to then go to court to get an injunction to keep these people away. So this is a concentrated Khalistani attempt to, one, make sure that the consular officials aren't able to do their business, helping people, helping, Indians in Canada. Two, that if there can be wedge driven between Hindus and Sikhs by going to the Hindu temples in a way they did, more the merrier for them, because that's their aim ultimately, to drive that wedge between the Hindus and Sikhs. That's never been there. 1984 was an aberration.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi has condemned the attacks on Hindus in Canada, while he hits out at Justin Trudeau, condemning the deliberate attacks, saying violence will never weaken India's resolve or threaten us. Modi has criticized the cowardly attempts to intimidate Indian diplomats in Canada, stating that he expects the Canadian government to ensure justice and uphold the rule of law. S. Jaishankar, Minister of External Affairs, also condemning the attack on Hindus, calling the incident as extremely concerning. EAM has asserted the incident clearly shows that ample space is given to extremists in Canada. Not just India, Australia too condemning the violence against Hindus in Canada. Let's listen in.
Canada has developed a pattern of making allegations without providing specifics. Secondly, when we look at Canada, for us, the fact that they're putting our diplomats under surveillance is something which is unacceptable. Third, the incidents which the gentleman there spoke about, and do look at the video. I think they would tell you, in a way, the political space today, which is being given to extremist forces there. So we believe in freedoms. We also believe freedom should not be misused. And have we had a talk about it? Exactly on the lines which I've spoken.
People have a right to be safe and respected, regardless of who they are in our country. That's the essence of our multicultural democracy. We've made clear our concerns about the allegations under investigations. We've said that we respect Canada's judicial process. We convey our views to India as you would expect us to do, and we have a principal position in relation to matters such as the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary, and also, frankly, the sovereignty of all countries.
Meanwhile, we're looking at the ruling government in India, the BJP, slamming the Gandhi siblings, asking why they've been silent on attacks on Hindus in Canada. Let's listen in.
जब भी हिंदुओं के ऊपर हमला होता है, हिंदू होने पर, भले वो बांग्लादेश हो गया या कनाडा हो गया, आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी उसके बारे में बोलते हैं, चिंता व्यक्त करते हैं और एक्शन के लिए आह्वान करते हैं। जब भी हिंदुओं के ऊपर बांग्लादेश से लेकर कनाडा में हमला होता है, ये सब लोग चुप्पी साधते हैं। इससे ये समझ में आता है कि इंडियन ऑपोजिशन के लिए, कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए हिंदू लाइव्स डोंट मैटर।
जब राहुल गांधी विदेशों में जाकर के देश को गाली देते तो उनको अच्छा लगता, लेकिन जब देश और दुनिया में हिंदुओं पे प्रहार होता तो राहुल गांधी सहित सभी टुकड़े टुकड़े गैंग के मुंह में बर्फ जम जाता। ये नहीं बोलते, लेकिन गाजा पर खूब जोर से बोलते। गाजा पर बोलो, हिंदू वोट बैंक नहीं है, इसीलिए ना ये लोग वोट बैंक के सौदागर हैं।
खालिस्तानियों ने ना केवल प्रोटेस्ट किया, परंतु मंदिर के अंदर वो घुस चुके, हिंदुओं पर उन्होंने लाठीचार्ज किया। कई सारे बच्चों को भी उसमें इंजरी आई है। कैनेडियन पुलिस एकदम देखती रही, सिर्फ प्रेक्षक करके, और इतना ही नहीं कि वो खालिस्तानियों को सपोर्ट कर रही है। ऐसे कई सारे वीडियोज आए हैं कि जिसमें वो प्रोटेस्ट करने वाले, अटैक करने वाले, ब्रुटैलिटी करने वाले खालिस्तानियों को कंट्रोल करने के बजाय हिंदुओं को मारना, हिंदुओं को गिरफ्तार करना। इससे ये भी दिखता है कि ट्रूडो सरकार ये पूरे हिंसा के लिए पूर्णतः जिम्मेदार है।
No one can be allowed to disrupt any devotee from going into a temple the way those devotees were harassed by pro-Khalistani elements, and the Canadian police also was seen as trying to physically stop the devotees from counter-protest instead of taking any action against the pro-Khalistani elements. We hope that the government of India will take it up very strongly.